Hey there friendos, Newbornkilik here, welcoming you back to another awesome Zelda-related video. Now today, we have 5 itty-bitty mini little questions, I guess, here that I'd like to theorize about. Definitely no way that these at any point would really make it into another theory video, so I figured I would kind of, group them all together and we can get them off my desk, basically. As always, please do bear in mind we do upload every Monday/Tuesday, depending on how lazy I'm feeling that week. But if you're not subscribed and you don't have that bell clicked, you probably won't know anyway. So do those things if you're interested. Starting off with number 1, we have, why in the world do the Gerudo have the ice arrows? I mean, you would think the ice arrows would definitely be, product of the Zora, but I do believe this may just be a bit of irony from Nintendo's part, or perhaps it could be a nod to how it does get very, very cold at night. So it's kind of, a bit of the duality there. It could very well be a reference to what is known as a yakshal, which probably saying that wrong. But anyway, basically that's how they would keep their food, cool in the desert. There's all this stone and clay surrounding this one area, which would essentially reinforce, any perishables that they may need, or ice or anything for the town. So it could very well be that that is essentially what that is referencing, at least in my opinion. Number 2, how in the world can the Keese be on fire? And how can they be on blue fire, or on ice, I guess? I have no idea. It's a video game thing, but of course, we're gonna make a crazy theory about it anyway, and the only thing that I can really think about it is that they must have some kind of like oil on their skin, so I guess if you touch them, they'd probably be oily, which is kind of gross, or could very well be that they like you a lot less than they like being on fire, so they decide to light themselves ablaze in order to get you out of their territory. I mean, I've heard about territorial, but that seems just a little bit over the hedge, if you know what I'm saying. But a sort of heat and cold resistant oil may keep them, safe and help regulate their body temperature in these extremely harsh environments, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards at the moment. I think the most interesting thing about this is that they actively use these elements. They will go and light themselves on fire with a torch to attack you. Not always, but sometimes they will do it. I know, I've seen it happen, and I'm not crazy. I don't think. Number 3, moving into darker territory. Now, in Majora's Mask, there is a young woman, a young girl, child named Pamela. Pamela is rather interesting in that she's basically defending her father in this music box house, which is meant to keep the Gibdo at bay in Iconic Canyon. What's interesting about her isn't so much her, but her father, who is actually turning into a Gibdo himself. So the main question that I was asked was, why would Pamela's father wrap himself in bandages, knowing that's basically step 3 to becoming a Gibdo? And my only thought is that he probably had sores opening up on his body and he was just trying to tend to them. So to answer the question specifically, why would Pamela's father go ahead and bandage himself up? It's probably he didn't have much of a choice. He's probably trying to treat any kinds of wounds. However, this in essence was speeding up the fact that he was turning into a Gibdo. However, this kind of leads to a couple more questions, because we know that Gibdo are just re-dead, at least in the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask universe. If you use Din's Fire, you'll actually burn off the Gibdo's wraps, revealing the re-dead underneath. So what's the difference? Is it just a symbol of, these people were smart enough or had the money to buy bandaging and they tried to save themselves, whereas the other guys were maybe, killed in battle, too quickly and they didn't have a chance to even treat their wounds? Good questions, and honestly, we have absolutely no answers to them. Just all speculation and thought. Number 4, what in the world is with the flintlock rifle that is behind the archery guy in Ocarina of Time? So, of course, if you look in Ocarina of Time behind the big burly man, in Kakariko Village that is running the archery challenge for Adult Link, specifically, that's the one I'm specifically thinking of. If you look behind him, you can actually see a flintlock rifle, or a musket, rather, I suppose. Which, take your pick, whichever one. So what's the deal with that? How come they don't use this technology? And my main thought is probably just that they don't have the gunpowder to use it. As we know, in Ocarina of Time, there actually was a war not too long ago, so it's possible that a lot of the gunpowder and explosives were used in the war, given the fact that the Gorons seem to have really the only, sort of explosives in the area, except for a few, niche areas, which probably come from Death Mountain anyway. It seems reasonable, to me at least, to believe that the Goron would not just hand out gunpowder or explosive powders to use in flintlock rifles after the war. Or it could just all be gone. If you think about stuff like, alchemy and everything like that, gunpowder is basically just a chemical reaction, a mixture of sorts. So anyone who knew how to make potions would probably know how to make poisons and, have a general knowledge of things like, mixing these things together. You get this reaction when you add, fire in as well. It explodes. Given the fact that there are very, very few potion makers left in Ocarina of Time when we play it, of course, it's very likely that this information may have also died with the individuals making the potions and so on and so forth. Realistically, it's probably just a funny little haha, like, look, there's a gun in the back and you're using a bow. Isn't that funny? But I'm still gonna speculate about it and draw wild conclusions about the things I see in the world around me. Speaking of which, number 5. This one is something that I've kind of thought about on my own, actually. The man who could see the truth. A lot of the speculation around him is the idea that he was arrested and taken to the Shadow Temple, but we don't really have any evidence to support that. There's nothing saying that he had any ties to the royal family. There's nothing saying that anything super dark happened to him. With that said, I'm gonna propose another idea that something super dark happened to him, in that what if he was actually taken by the Dead Hand? So let's look and see what we have here as far as information. The Dead Hand can burrow and dig. That's the big one. Given that the Dead Hand can burrow, it's very possible that at some point he may have decided to come to the surface and just happened to find his way directly into the man who could see the truth's house. How spooky would that be? It's, 3 a.m. Actually, it is about 3 a.m. at the time of recording this, which is very ironic, but completely unimportant. So it's about 3 a.m. You're laying in your bed, all nice and cozy, and all of a sudden you hear, a little bit of scritching on the floor. That's weird, probably a mouse or something. All of a sudden, a large white shape pops out of your floor, and that's just it. That's the point that you die of a heart attack. Have fun sleeping tonight. Hopefully you're on the second floor. That would make it a little bit more awkward for him to get to you. So yeah, I rather like the idea that the well was actually made by the Dead Hand burrowing up to take this individual for the sake of spookiness, we'll say, in the middle of the night, because why not? It does have some evidence to support it in the fact that the Dead Hand under the well is just a straight shot up. It's very possible the Dead Hand may have dug straight up, or maybe the Dead Hand digging in this spot would have created a fault in the structure of the earth, essentially allowing a well to easily be dug there. But the kicker to all of this is that the Dead Hand has that man's possessions. Either the man who could see the truth became the Dead Hand, interacted with the Dead Hand, was killed by the Dead Hand, or decided to hide his stuff and a Dead Hand just happened to be there. Well, that's a lot of happenstance now, isn't it, buddy? Huh? What do you think this is, a fantasy game? But anyway, I'd rather do, of course, like the idea that the Dead Hand basically stole the man who could see the truth, digging up into his house, ergo making a fault that would create the well later. And yeah, he just kind of took a lot of his stuff. I mean, there's not a whole lot of things down there except this one potentially valuable item. Maybe the Dead Hand's smart enough to know that people may come looking for it eventually. And well, he was right. So anyway, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It does help me out an awful lot. I really do appreciate it. If you do enjoy this kind of content, please do check out the other videos on my channel, and hey, why not drop a subscribe and ring that bell, because if you don't, YouTube won't tell you. Seriously. Anyway, check out the gameplay channel. I am Newbornkilik, and I will see you in the next one. I'm out.